All right, I am back for the latest edition of Carter's Way. And I'm on this thing about places that I've traveled to and some of the uh, weird experiences that I've had traveling. Okay, so for this one, I am going to talk about when I became a supermodel and moved to Milan, Italy. Okay, of course, since you don't know this face, if you don't know me and you don't know this face, you know that I kind of stretched the truth a little bit. But when I was maybe 24, between 23 and 26, somewhere around there. This could be kind of long, so it's probably going to be cut into parts as well, because I think the first part is probably the very beginning and the very end are the most important parts of the story for me. The first part is how I even wound up going to Milan. It starts when I was probably 19 or 20, and I was in the service, and a good friend of mine at the time decided she and some of her friends were going to give modeling a shot. So they got the idea to all go to Milan, which is one of the fashion capitals of the world, in Italy. And I was in the service, so I was hearing about all of this through letters. And at some point they got there, and it was her and three other girls, and none of them could find work. They found a little pensione, which was that name was big for me back then when I used to hear it, pensione. It sounded really grand and wonderful. So they found a pensione, which is an apartment, a little flat, and they all lived in it. And the goal was to get there, find modeling work, and grow from there into whatever they were going to grow into. So in the letter, she said that they had been there for a couple of 2-3 weeks. Nobody could find work. Their money that they brought with them was running out. All they were eating basically were oranges, and all of them had really bad diarrhea. It was probably acid diarrhea, which is even worse. Okay. And then my friend supposedly was the only one of the four to actually get work, and all of the other girls, they felt like they couldn't go on, so they all made the decision that they were going to come back. And my friend, who supposedly was working and I guess making a pretty decent coin, decided to drop everything and leave and come back with them because she didn't want to be there alone. So I thought that was pretty exciting and interesting. And how can somebody just pick up and go with their friends to a whole nother country? So I guess that seed was in the back of my head. So I finally get out of the service, and I am making it. I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do in the world. And I got out when I was 21. So yes, around 23, between 21 and 23, I'd gotten a job at the Chicago Park District, and I collected the money at a parking garage downtown. And so that went on for a couple of years, and people would always ask me, because I'm tall, before I went to the service, it was always, do you play basketball? Which was the only thing you needed to say to me to make me very clearly not like you. You got very few chances with me, and if you came at me with basketball, I didn't want to know you. So when I got out of the service, it turned all of a sudden into, are you famous? Are you a model? Are you a model? Are you famous now? I was painfully shy back then, so I couldn't understand what people were talking about. And I've never, even to this day, I don't particularly care for what I look like. So I thought everybody was just insane, but I would get it all the time. I'm 6'3", almost 6'3". And back then, and I don't know if it was a thing, but back then I was 6'3". I had maybe a 28, 29 inch waist. And you may not be able to tell it now because I have a grown man's body, but when I had the 29-inch waist, my shoulders were super broad. So my uncle used to his nickname for me was T-square. So I had these big giant shoulders and a little bitty body with a big old head. So that was me. None of that was cute to me. Other people thought I should have been a model, and I got it all the time. And at first I was embarrassed. Well, first of all, why are you looking at me? I'm freaked out. People should not pay me any attention. And then it became, why do they keep asking me that? Because that's crazy. I could never be a model. And I got it for like a year or so. And then one day, I guess that seed that was planted by my former friend started germinating. And I'm like, nope, I couldn't be a model. So, but one day I went and bought one of those. I think it was called Uomo. It was a big giant magazine, almost like the old Interview magazine. And it was, Uomo means man, right? Male, man. Anyway, something male. And the whole magazine, which was about that thick and huge, was all men in fashion shows from overseas. And so I bought the magazine and I'm looking through it. And the thing that jumped out the most to me was that, oh, wait a minute. You don't have to be attractive to be a model. You just have to have, in my head, in my 20s, early 20-something head, it was, you just need to be tall and somewhat thin. Okay. I was like, maybe I can do this. Who knows? But I need to do something because I don't want to be a ticket taker the rest of my life. So the part of this story, the part of the story at this point that I thought was so important was it was a very clear, if to no one else, to myself, understanding that if you take a step forward in something that you honestly think you want to try, the universe will take 2 steps towards you to help you to make it come to life. And the way that happened for me was I worked in this parking garage. I had many regular customers, but I didn't know any of them past, hello, it's this much money, thank you, goodbye. I didn't really, because I was super shy. I didn't really try to talk to people. I didn't try to know people. And I had a few friends and I started talking about this, like possibly going to Italy to try to be a model. And I'm sure some of them were like, yeah, you should do that. But they were like, just shut up. So I talked it to my former friend. I was like, do you think I could do that? And to her credit, there are not a lot, for whatever reasons, we are no longer friends. It was not because she wasn't supportive, especially at that time. She was like, yes, you could do it. What took you so long to decide to do it? You should do it. And so that made the seed grow a little bit more. I started talking to friends about it. And through talking to them while I was at work, some of the customers that had seen me, had seen me for that year or so and thought that I was a nice enough person, would overhear me and they would be like, yeah, you should do that. I really think you should do that. I started hearing about it every day now. People have you gotten closer to the idea? And in the back of my head, I'm like, why are they talking to me about this? They weren't supposed to hear that in the first place. It could never happen. I started almost trying to, beat myself up about it, but I heard about it so much from other people that I didn't even know that I started kind of believing. I was like, maybe I should do this. So then the groundswell of everybody started growing even more. I even had quite a few customers. I told a few that, okay, I'm thinking I'm going to do it. People started just giving me money, like, keep the change, put this towards your going to be a model fund, and I was like, what? I just started getting money everywhere. People, the thing that really kicked it over the edge And all of this was nothing that I asked for. I was just thinking that this was something I may want to pursue. The thing that made it really happen is I was in the service and I lived in California. Out of the blue, I'd been in Chicago, I guess, maybe back to Chicago, maybe a year or so, year and a half after that. I get a letter in the mail saying that you paid taxes in California for whatever year that was, and you didn't get your refund. Now, I did check prices for Italy, and it was a round trip ticket was roughly $600. The check from income taxes that I didn't claim in California came to like $603. So all I had to do was take this money that I had no idea was mine, that just fell into my lap, give it to the airlines, and I had my ticket. So I was like, okay, that's really bizarre, and I think maybe I'm gonna do this. So to not talk myself out of it, I bought the ticket. Now, I don't speak Italian. I've never been anywhere by myself outside of the country. I bought the ticket. I don't speak Italian. I didn't think enough to realize that I probably should have secured a hotel before. But in my head, I was like, when I get there, I can find the best price place. So I'm just going to fly there and wing it once I get there. I asked my sister yesterday, I called her up yesterday because my mother is no longer alive. And I was thinking, what did they think? Did they think I was insane? I know my mother was terrified for me, but she didn't want to show it. So she was pretty encouraging. And before I actually left, the friend at the time, I was really good. I liked her mother a whole lot. So her mother and her came to my house. There was this big giant cry fest like 2 days before I'm leaving to go. And everybody's like, oh, we hope you make it, which almost scared me because I didn't think about fear at the time. I was not afraid. I was just like, okay, I'm getting on the plane. I'm going to go. What's the worst that could happen? You know, a lot could happen. So I had all of this. I mean, I think I collected maybe $100 or so, $150, $200 just from random strangers to get me to Italy. And I didn't feel like I had a choice at that point. So I packed way too much stuff. I bought my ticket earlier. I got maps of Milan. I talked to my friend at the time to try to figure out, you know, what I was supposed to do. She gave me a brief little rundown. And my mama dropped me off at the airport. The intention was to just go, and whatever happens, happens, and I'll be back when I'm supposed to be back.